How do you win against the Galactic Empire? This is the question Tony Gilroy and his team asked before making the acclaimed Star Wars series, Andor. Gilroy asked his team to purposefully move away from typical Star Wars style. Instead of galactic battles, Andor shows the drudgery, the cost, and the moral grayness of resistance against the Empire. We also see the small triumphs of everyday actions. I imagine Gilroy and his team looked at films like Spartacus, the 1960 film from director Stanley Kubrick, and The Battle of Algiers, the 1966 film by Guillermo Pontecorvo. I'd also like to imagine they looked at French resistance films like A Man Escaped and Army of Shadows. And if you like Andor, you should check out this pair. But first, let's talk about their context and their Andor parallels. What do we mean when we say French resistance? The French resistance was a network of people who resisted forces occupying France between 1940 and 1944. After Nazi Germany defeated French forces in 1940, France split into two, an occupied northern half that included Paris, and a southern larger part led in Vichy by World War I hero Marshal Philippe Pétain, often referred to as Vichy France. Between 1940 and 1944, two French governments were recognized, Vichy by the Axis powers and a government in exile recognized by the Allies and led by General Charles de Gaulle, known as Free France. Free French forces had more organized military units made up of exiles and French colonial troops, especially in Africa. The resistance collaborated with Free France and took orders from them, but not necessarily. The French resistance, like other European resistance movements, were made up of different factions that remained in contact to some degree, but also operated independently and autonomously. They all shared the same goal, resist Nazis in Vichy, but they had different ideals and different strategies. In Andor, we see this with multiple factions resisting the Empire, like Luthien Rael's more covert faction and Saul Guerrera's more belligerent faction. Like these factions in Andor, the French resistance worked autonomously because trust remained an issue throughout the occupation by Nazi Germany. No one knew who said what or who worked with whom. Not all French people took part in the resistance. Those who did often did so through non-violent things like passing information or lending money. Many lived daily lives very neutrally. Many also collaborated with the Nazis, with Coco Chanel being a notorious example. Among those who served in resistance capacities were two soon-to-be filmmakers, Robert Bresson and Jean-Pierre Melville. Bresson served in a POW camp during the war. Melville fought in the resistance in Castres and took place in the Battle of Monte Cassino. Both filmmakers used their experience to direct two of the most acclaimed French resistance films. Bresson, acclaimed for his films that often focus on process and show characters acting methodically, like in Pickpocket, directed A Man Escaped in 1956. A Man Escaped has a very simple premise. A French man imprisoned by the Nazis plans his escape. That's it. What makes A Man Escaped thrilling is how Bresson focuses on the point of view of the prisoner in the present. There's no flashbacks. We see the prisoner in present time, look at where his guards are, where his space is, how he notices every detail. We hear his interior monologue as he completes this process. For fans of Andor, this film and this process will seem similar to the Narkina 5 prison arc. These two stories share how escaping and freedom require a kind of present thinking. Everything interior, all anxiety has to be pushed back to focus on that goal. Army of Shadows was a later film from Melville. Before 1969, Melville mostly made existentialist crime films like the influential classic Le Samurai. Army of Shadows was based on Joseph Kessel's novel from Kessel's own wartime experiences. Despite adapting the novel, Melville draws from his experience in showing the grayness of Army of Shadows. The Luthien Rael monologue from Andor about giving up everything for resistance, including his sense of decency, could have been said by Army of Shadows' anonymous leader played by Lino Ventura. Lino Ventura's character doesn't look like a typical French resistance fighter. He dresses in an unassuming way to evade detection. Behind this facade, however, we see decisions and the actions of a man conceding moral principles toward a more noble goal. We see characters we feel uncertain of rooting for, and we feel the present uncertainty every character has about who might betray them. Melville's film provides a template for how to show the greatness of resistance, how characters have to use the tools of one's enemy to defeat them, just like Andor does. Both films remain influential for showing how characters in resistance to oppression remain resolute and focused toward their goals of liberation and freedom, something we see in Andor.